Welcome to Decades of Horror in the 1970s.
The old ones are not truly dead. They only sleep. It's a dreamlike oblivion, stretching on and on towards vast eternity.
This is episode 191, recorded June 7th, 2023.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr, Chad Hunt, Bill Mulligan, and myself will take a look at various what am I saying? I don't really know. We will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, influential decade. We're not starting over. With me this episode is my co-host, the one and only Yog Sagoth. Sir, how are you doing? Jeff Mohr!
I'm doing
Soggy
great.
what?
I got my Cthulhu t-shirt on, and I also got my Cthulhu mug. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Fatagan!
Sort of
Hot patooey.
Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Bathulu.
That's right. That's you just cursed me to oblivion.
All right.
I
I
told you it'd work.
am so lost.
I'm wretched. I'm wretched.
Wretched. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all-around nice guy. How you doing, Bill?
I am tired. School is finally winding down. We have graduation tomorrow, and yeah.
Yeah, it is. It'll be summer. Are you doing summer school, or are you getting to summer?
No, my summer is going to be a short one, but it is going to be packed with a lot of family traveling and stuff. So
Good deal.
yes.
Good deal. Good time. All right. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host, Decades of Horror Classic Era. He's also a director and all kinds of other stuff. Say hello to Chad. Chad, how you doing?
Hey, Doc.
What was you doing?
I was counting all the crap you were spouting off of that I'm
I
responsible for.
you like yes, you cat blocked me or crap blocked me. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Let's move on.
Okay.
Jeff
I'm
Mohr
with you on that.
Jeff Mohr has something to share with us.
Yeah, well, Decades of Horror and Gruesome Magazine are partnering with Play Now Media, and they're showing the Decades of Horror on several of their streaming channels. The 70s in particular is on Wicked Horror TV and the Free Horror Channel. So
All right.
check us out. We're it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. He says, yeah. All right. So, all train wreck aside, we are here to review or discuss, if you will, the Dunwich Horror from 1970. So this is a
podcast.
Yes, it's a podcast. Arkham Miskatonic University is up front and center at the beginning of this show. So this will be a fun film to discuss for certain, with opposing views and opinions just for you. All right. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to give you our first impressions of what we thought of this, or, when we actually saw it. Did we see it back in 1970, or did we see it perhaps today?
Want to do the details first?
We're going to get
Okay.
there.
Sorry.
We're going to get into things, and then we'll wrap stuff up. And then at the end, we have some feedback. Correct?
A couple short ones, but yes,
A couple short ones.
very worthy. Very worthy.
Worthy, but not wordy.
Worthy,
All
but
right.
not wordy. Yes.
Yeah, you can run right ahead of you, man. We were on the same train. All right. Dunwich Horror, 1970, directed by Daniel Holler, written by Curtis Hanson, Henry Rosenbaum, Ronald Silkosky, based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft. Oh, look at that. We're just switching out all over the place. What? How'd that happen?
I'm doing it. It's all the same words in the same place, Doc.
I know. I don't even see that one in my list.
Fancy.
That's so funny. The cast includes Sandra D, Dean Stockwell, Ed Begley Sr., Lloyd Bochner, and Sam Jaffe. What a great name, Sam Jaffe.
And don't
Turn her
forget Talia Shire or Coppola, as she was known then, and Beach Dickerson.
Yes, and yes, Talia Shire, Beach Dickerson.
Can't
The production company is American International Pictures, AIP. That's right. Filming locations is Mendocino, Little River, and LA in California. The filming dates started in April 8th, 1969. It was released January 14th, 1970. Domestic box office was 446,000. Worldwide box was 1 million. The synopsis: Wilbur Whateley travels to Miskatonic University to borrow the legendary Necronomicon. But little does anyone know, Whateley isn't quite human.
Ooh.
And that's the magic decoder ring.
It doesn't matter, Dakota Ring. Indeed it is. All right. So let's start off sharing. When did we first see this film? What do we think of it? And does it hold up today? Who chose this? Chad, did you choose this?
That would be Chad.
Chad, sir. That means you are up first.
Okay. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie.
Was that why you chose it?
Ever. Yeah, it is. The reason that I held off on watching this movie for so long was I heard stories and read things that this movie strayed so much from the source material, and it involved witches and I heard a lot of different stuff about this movie that I kind of had no desire to watch it. So I said, well, let's give it a chance. It's on Pluto TV. I think it's where I watched it, and yesterday. And I found it really, really interesting. It was, I'm a sucker for H.P. Lovecraft. I'm not a sucker for most of the adaptations that movie and stuff that comes along with that. Because Lovecraft is so hard to adapt, for one thing, for any media, I think. But this one did a pretty good adaptation, I thought. Dean Stockwell played the weird Wilbur Whateley. He played it very well, I thought, with that little weirdness to him. The horror itself was not as described in the book, but it was okay. And a lot of the other, I really liked Ed Begley Jr.'s character as Armitage. That was a pretty cool movie. I thought it was pretty cool overall. It was a little slow getting going, as I'm sure you guys probably noticed that too. But once it did, in the third act there, things really picked up a lot. And hey, Sandra Dee, look at me, is in this movie. We got to see her half-naked body double in this, but it was all very cool. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a great adaptation, and enjoyed it. Very pristine copy of this movie on there. It looks a lot younger than it is. I thought it was a very good, pristine copy of it, I thought. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, she showed a lot of leg and talked about sex a lot. But
yeah,
hey, it's not. I'm going to shake things up and go next. So I like Chad, I've avoided this movie for some reason. Perhaps it was the whispers of what you're talking about. I just never have been drawn to this film, but I know about it, and I've always it's always been on my list of films to watch. And I figured once we started this podcast, we'll get to it eventually. And hey, here we are. So over the past 5 days, the last 5 days have been a blur to me personally, but somewhere along the line, past 5 days, I finally sat down and watched this. And I have no context of the source material other than the name that is associated with it. So as far as that goes, it had the unspeakable, unvisual monster that you couldn't really recognize. It was there, it was present. It might look goofy, but it worked. The cast is great. Although Dean Stockwell, the way he spoke was so weird. We'll talk about that later, but it fit the character, I suppose. And I think really what won me over the most was just how good this looked. It it looked crisp.
Mhm.
It looked, I'd never associated the richness of this film. At times, there were other times that it didn't. Sometimes it looked straight out of like a TV movie of the week, but there were other times it looked very gothic, very creepy, lit really well. The location of Whateley House or Whateley House, whichever one it was really awesome. I had a great time with this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. To me, it was a bit of a surprise. I loved it. Bill Mulligan, sir,
Very cool.
You're up next.
I'm the skunk in the garden party here. I didn't find it all that good. I'm not what I would call a big fan of Lovecraft. I mean, I like what I've read. I just haven't read enough. I need to read some more. And it always puzzles me just how they've had such a hard time adapting his stuff. Now, some of the things I've read, I can totally understand. I mean, it's so much tone and mood. And then when the monster shows up, it's unspeakable. And well, yeah, but when you make a movie, we got to speak. We got to show the dang thing. And it's going to be a disappointment. But I have read the Dunwich Horror. And to me, this was one that could have been made into a decent movie. It's actually got a bit of a story there and a cool monster and all. So this one is slow. It's slow to get going. Yeah, it does pick up in the third act. But by that point, I was kind of checked out. If I'd had control of the fast forward button, I probably would have been hitting it quite a bit. It just seems to take a long time to get to the point. The divergence from the story, I totally understand. I mean, the character, Whateley's character in the story, he's creepy. He's really, really creepy. And in this one, Dean Stockwell, well, I mean, he's described as being kind of charming and everything. Oh, I see you've been charming the ladies. Like, are you kidding me? This is like the creepiest guy. This is the guy I always end up sitting next to on a bus. He's not charming at all. But okay, we'll go with that. And his performance was odd, but I kind of like that. I like the fact that it was odd. I liked Ed Begley. He was a good, kind of Peter Cushing-esque type character.
Yeah.
The savant who takes on the monsters. I always have loved Sam Jaffe ever since one of my all-time favorite movies, Gunga Din, and he played Gunga Din. You might say he doesn't look like, well, they made him look like he was from India. Couldn't get away with that now, but that's just a rip-roaring movie from another time. It's Sandra Dee, and I'll make a confession here. I've seen every one of the Tammy movies, Tammy and the Professor, Tammy this, Tammy that. They showed them on the 4:30 movie, and it was like, oh, wow, this is really cool stuff. I really liked her. She's older now. She's trying something a little different, maybe trying to get away from that image. And I thought she was fine in it, except that they didn't really give her much to do. She's just there to be the victim. Doesn't really have a lot of agency on her own. But the one thing I did like was the monsters, which we don't see much until the very, very, very end. And they use solarization, which normally I'm not a huge fan of because it's a really cheap special effect that you can get, kind of a little overdone and stuff. But it's been done pretty well a couple times. One was in Wolfen, and one was this one, where actually they did get some pretty trippy effects out of it and some cool editing, and it was pretty neat. Some of the other dream sequences just seemed kind of like from one of those high school "don't take drugs, kids, or this is going to happen to you" films. Which of course, yeah, which had the complete opposite effect because we were like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I'm intrigued," And in fact, most drug experiences are nowhere near as cool as the anti-drug films would have made you think. But it's kind of a slow burn, and it just puzzles me because I know they were like, well, we've done everything that Edgar Allan Poe has done and had a lot of success with it. Let's go to Lovecraft, and it just didn't work. And I'm not exactly sure why, because now some of the Edgar Allan Poe films that AIP did, they had nothing to do with Poe. I mean, The Raven's a fun movie, and it's got zero to do with the poem The Raven. Literally a line or two.
There's a few lines in there.
There's a few lines, but I mean that thin gruel.
Yeah,
it does have a raven though.
Yeah, but House of Usher, Pit and the Pendulum. Some of these actually they were stories, and characters, and the characters were maybe borrowed to make the movies. Lovecraft isn't all about characters much. It's a whole different kind of thing. So it's just interesting that if you want to see a good Lovecraft movie, you need to watch something that was not actually at all from Lovecraft. It was more captures the vibe, like The Mist or something. The Mist feels like someone who read a lot of Lovecraft. But the actual Lovecraft films pretty much missed the mark, and I thought this one really missed the mark. I would like to see a Dunwich Horror done, with the effects and the technology we have now. I think they could pull it off. And apparently this was going to be Richard Stanley's second Lovecraft-inspired movie after The Color from Outer Space, but that, fell apart. So not a big fan, just a little, maybe it was just because I am so exhausted right now. I needed something that would pick me up a little bit more and carry me here. And this one was just, this is going on for too long. But I seem to be in the distinct minority here. So let's keep that in mind.
Now you know how I felt throughout the whole month of May.
Well, it does repeat itself. It's like, let's go to the house, let's go to the doctor's, let's go back to the house, let's go over here, let's go to the house. All right, Jeff Mohr, what was when did you first see this? What was your first impression? Does it hold up today?
Yeah, y'all.
Well, I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember exactly. When I first saw it, but it was on TV and late night, and I was a little bit like what Bill's saying, is I was excited about seeing something with Lovecraft, and I was sort of put off with it being sort of slow and not, it didn't grab me then. Now, I don't know, maybe it was the print or the resolution or something, but when I watched it now, I loved it. And I know it gets some slag. In fact, somebody said it was their favorite bad movie, I think, on our social media when we announced we were doing this month. But I liked it. And I think, number one, there's a huge difference between Poe's stuff is concrete, usually. Now there's ghosts and things, but it's physical things you can depict happening. Lovecraft is, like you said, the unspeakable, the indescribable, the unseeable. If you see it, you go mad. So who could describe it, kind of thing. And I know that only goes so far, but they actually do describe them vaguely enough in the stories for you to get freaked out. And there's no way they could have done it in the 70s and not have it look like I don't know,
like it does here in this movie.
Yeah,
right. I think it's kind of ripe for it now with the quality of CGI and the amount that they can do with practical effects that they couldn't do back then. What I think I was impressed this time around of how they were doing that solarization and some of the other stuff. That was a great way to show this force that was impacting everybody, I thought. I just and the one creature, I think it was his brother, was, in the story, it gets bigger, 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 and they have to keep adding on to the house until it fills up the house, and then it explodes out of the house, and it's invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we were seeing. We were seeing like the waves and the wind going across the water and the stuff like that, and the trees rustling. So that was and I thought they did pretty good on that. And I kind of liked Dean Stockwell's portrayal. I thought was good in that. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but I'm watching this and I'm thinking, he is creepier than crap. And how is he being so creepy? And at one point I realized, well, number one, he was very soft spoken.
Yeah.
And he was also, his movements were very deliberate and slow, but almost dance-like, very smooth. But the other thing was, he didn't blink. When he was a close-up or you had him in a shot, he did not blink. And it was just something that hit me, and I thought, he's just creepy. And I thought he's doing a really good job of that. It was almost like for instance, the way he handled that knife and that stuff was almost like choreography. It was smooth and deliberate, and you could tell that I'm willing to bet he practiced those movements to find something. So anyway, I thought he was good too. Of course, Sam Jaffe and Egg Bagley are legends. And Sandra D, I was at first like thinking, Sandra D, oh, come on. Sandra D, that's how miscast can you be? And then I realized, no, actually, she's perfectly cast. You know, the image is this sort of sweet hometown girl, right? That gets hoodwinked. Yeah.
Are you a virgin?
By by Wilbur, and then comes, I don't know what, under a spell or drugs or whatever it is. The
little both.
He's giving her out of the tube. Yeah, both. I think.
Yeah, I like the representation.
She was out of it. So, well, and the scene. Maybe we should talk about that separately. But the scene up on the sort of the cliff with the altar, that I thought that was. I mean, if you pay attention to that, that's some nasty crap going on.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts the Necronomicon on her crotch with her legs spread and stands right in there. Well, her what do you want me to say? Her labias?
No, I didn't want you to say that.
No.
Take that back.
100% did not want you to say that.
Interesting. And then the idea of the fetus, the fetus was pretty big already, but in the book or in the story, that's what happens too.
Yeah. Whateley grows at an accelerated rate.
Ages very, very quickly. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Now, just to what you said too, Bill, and I'll finish up. I know this is a lot more than first impressions, but there's a big difference. I think movies run into problems when if they're trying to adapt a short story, there's not enough there. And if they're trying to adapt a novel, there's too much there. So they got to fluff out the short stories. But like novellas, this is the Dunwich Horror is like 17,000 words. So it's really kind of the perfect length, like The Mist, to do. So I think it would be good to do again.
It would have been something to see Richard Stanley's version of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was actually a TV version done like 15 years ago that had Dean Stockwell played Professor or Dr. Armitage, whoever.
Yeah, I remember.
But everything else was different. I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I'm done, Doc. I'm sorry. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and it's a great look now.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted, before we get into the next thing, I just wanted to touch on the magnetism, if you will, of Dean Stockwell's character. What's his name again?
Wilbur Whateley.
Wilbur. The way they showed that, how he would like hypnotize everybody, like he did it to Sandra D at first, and then he did it to Bagley's character. To get the Necronomicon, sure, you'll let me use it, and then I really thought that gave the character what visually might have been missing, to talk to kind of between what Jeff was saying and what Bill was saying with the character. So that worked for me, and his character, worked from that moment on.
And they were subtle with it too. There was a couple of scenes where, like when he was trying to get her to go on the altar, he sort of just nudged his head, and she wasn't even looking at him. He nudged his head like toward the altar, and she started walking toward the altar. So she was like totally under his thrall there.
Yeah, well, he had already given her the tea.
The tea.
The tea. All right, Jeff, I believe there's something we want to do before we get into further discussion. Is there not?
Oh, my God. Why do I always forget this stuff? It is now time for... Wait a minute. Let me get my here.
Such a tease.
It's now time for... Taglines with Chad.
Okay. Oh, we got a few here, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Your taglines for the Dunwich Horror are as follows. People seldom visit Dunwich. The town is ruined, decadent, and its annals, just kidding, its annals reek of overt viciousness, murder, crime, and violent deed, unnameable. That's from H.P. Lovecraft.
I hate reeking annals.
I do too. Especially after you eat potato chips. Okay, anyway.
Better than leaking anals, but that's
Yeah.
all right. That's a
Doc knows all about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop.
Somehow
More
or another,
people.
we always talk about it when Doc's. Never mind.
Yep.
Yeah. People,
Next.
people. Okay, next. More people die in Dunwich than live there.
I like that one.
It's good. It makes you think.
Next one. He invoked the unspeakable, and she invited it.
Huh?
Okay. That's
Tit for tat. Tit for tat.
another
Yep.
winner. Okay. You know, a few years ago in Dunwich, a half-witted girl bore illegitimate twins. One of them was almost human.
I like that one. Although
Almost human.
dim-witted is kind of harsh.
Right. And
Don't
there
have
was,
somebody-
at least as far as the movie, there was no sign of that. You
No.
know,
No.
I can't remember in the story if that's the way it is or not.
Well, she was hospitalized, right? So-
Yeah.
Well, she was driven insane by the experience.
Yeah. I wouldn't say she was slow. Just
The devil's spawn is about to open the gates of hell.
no.
No, true.
It's true.
It's
and,
true. I saw Chad there opening the gates.
I was manipulating it like this. Okay. The sound of whippoorwills is the song of the death in Dunwich.
That's terrible.
Whatever that
Whippoorwills. Whippoorwills are
Well,
the
you-
least scary bird name ever invented.
Well, you heard the
Whippoorwills.
birds, though, right? And you got that
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's supposed to be.
But were they whippoorwills? I don't know.
The
That's
only
what
thing
they
less
call them
scary than
at some
whippoorwills
point.
are kiwis.
Those Kiwis don't try to steal your soul.
No.
But,
Like your feet.
The dodo birds. Yeah.
I'll swallow your soul. H.P. Lovecraft's classic tale of terror and the supernatural.
Okay.
Sunday on Disney.
The Wild World of Disney. Oh,
And the
man, that's
unspeakable
awesome.
and the unnameable. All right. And that's been Taglines with Chad.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the posters before we
I
get into
live
it.
for that. I live for that. Thank you, God.
You're easily amused, aren't you?
You're welcome. You're welcome, Jeff. Okay, say what you will about about the movie. This poster is awesome. I love this poster.
Yeah.
It is a good poster.
I forget the name of the artist who did so many of these posters. I think this is one of the ones that really upset him, though, that made him want to get out of the business. That just-
Really?
Yeah. He just thought it was too sexually graphic. And I've got a couple of his. God,
Look
what are
out.
you doing?
Look
I don't
out.
know what that
Look
was.
out.
Yeah. But it's cool. I wish that monster had appeared, but and he
Well,
sort
they
of did. He
Kind
kind
of did. It looked kind of like that too.
Yeah,
They
he
were
can
all
only do so
snakes,
much.
though. They were all snakes, like a Medusa. I didn't see.
They
any of
look
the
better.
little-
They look better than the Gorgons. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because didn't they strip the clothes off that one girl pretty quick?
Yeah.
Right. And then poor Talia Shire gets it and can't drive. Anyway,
She wasn't taking her clothes off.
no, they can't.
I'm going to be in Rocky in a couple of years. I'm not taking her clothes
No,
off.
when you're a Coppola, you've got some clout.
Yeah,
Even then, I don't know where this poster came from,
but it's very cool.
but I like the
It's
colors.
cool. I don't know why the Thunderbird was as soon as I saw that, it's like, well, that's the Thunderbird. It's
Yep.
not- got nothing. to
Yeah,
do with
that's
Lovecraft.
the thing on the floor of the Whateley house.
Isn't that what they had on their foreheads? Like when the girl
yes,
was giving
that
birth
too.
at the beginning, and
Oh, is that what that was? Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, the big poof on there, the big,
Yeah.
because it was more than that, but yeah, it was that was on it. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so Jeff, you wanted to talk.
There's one more. Maybe you're
There's
not
one
sure.
more that baffles me.
Well, I don't have any more art on here. I don't have that.
There
one
it
on
is.
mine.
What? Right, well, yeah, she came and went.
What happened, Jeff? There it is.
There we go. Sorry about
Yeah, I
that.
don't know what movie that's from.
the
I don't know what
burning
movie
bed.
they thought. In fact, I was thinking this can't be the right movie. Then I look at the, well, no, it's I can't read the
The
Virgin, of Dunwich,
Dunwich.
but that's got the right cast and everything. So I think anyone who went in there on the basis of this poster was probably very disappointed.
Well, she was wearing like that weird black robe with slit up, clear up the side, and
She sure doesn't look like a virgin, but okay.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. Doesn't look like Sandra D.
Yeah.
Either
She's
that, or it looks
blonde.
like she's trying to pick up a little person.
Yeah, that doesn't look like Sandra D at all. Oh man. Yeah. All right. So, Jeff, you said beforehand you had something you wanted to say about the director. Do you want to? Is it now the time?
Well,
to
I didn't know that much about the director, but then I read that he got hooked up with Roger Corman and was like art director and set designer for all those movies, all the Poe movies, and a bunch of other movies he did in the 50s. So I kind of started looking him up, and we've done 5 movies that he's contributed to. So he also directed Die Monster Die, which and these are all ones we did on Classic
Which was
era.
also wasn't that a Lovecraft adaptation as well?
Yes. Well, even less.
Very, very loosely
yeah.
based on Lovecraft.
But actually, considering the fact that it was 5 years earlier or something like that, they managed to come up with some nasty looking creature there in the basement, if I remember right. And then he was also like art director or set designer on, and why did that change on me? Comedy of Terrors, which we did, and Tales of Terror, which we also did, A Bucket of Blood, and our next episode on Classic Era will be The Wasp Woman that he was also involved in. So this guy did a lot of stuff. Shortly after this, he pretty much got almost entirely into TV, except for an odd movie here and there. And I think we were talking beforehand, Bill mentioned Buck Rogers, the movie, and some of the TV series with Jill Gerard and Aaron Gray. But lots of TV.
Now, have you guys seen his other horror movie? Did we talk about that? You guys did it, right? Have you done Die Monster Die yet?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
And what'd you guys think of that film?
Of course, Karloff had Karloff in it. Wasn't great.
Yeah, Nick Adams,
great. Weak Monster.
Yeah,
and
I think it was based on
Karloff was
Color Out of Space, if I'm not mistaken.
yes.
But it had less to do
and
with
it.
Color Out of Space than this movie had to do.
No, man.
Yeah.
Dunwich Horror.
Well, it did have some cool stuff because there was some like totally barren landscape, which is what happens in Color Out of Space. It fries the landscape, and then there was like some kind of weird creature in the basement. So the movie's kind of odd, but I have fond memories of it, if that makes any sense. Probably because of Boris Karloff and maybe Nick Adams. The woman too. I should remember her name, but I don't.
Well, it looks like the poster artist. I just wanted to, you really intrigued me on what you said about the poster artist, Bill. But it's Reynold Brown.
Yes, that is it. And I have his Frankenstein Conquers the World, which is one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, I mean,
oh wow.
The number of, I'm just looking at some of the posters he did. It's incredible.
He did them all.
Tarantula, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, right?
Yep.
Conga, Creature, the Black Lagoon, all the Black Lagoons, it seems like. Mole People, Monster on Campus. Did he do Ben-Hur? Is that?
I wouldn't be surprised. That looks, that kind of. He just had that really bold use of colors and just knew how to take a lot of times they would have him do the poster before they would, probably before they made the movie, which is why Frankenstein Conquers the World has such, a great scene that appears nowhere in the film. But he was quite the
that
artist.
never happened.
Yeah,
there's a Cinemagic article about him. Not Cinemagic.
Cinefantastic.
Cinefantastic. Thank you. Yes, they did a whole big article on him, and it's wonderful. So you can
I'd love to have a book that was just a presentation of his posters. They are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All the favorite ones. Yeah, I mean, and classic ones. When you think of some of these horror films, these are the posters you think about usually. So, And this one is actually quite simple compared to the other ones that he's done. Yeah. He's done some very complex, posters with a lot of detail. This one has, basically the head and the girl, and that's it. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that if there's a book that is solely on his posters, I want to know about it.
I'll see about that, 'cause we'll be buying that together.
Yeah. Sorry to digress. So from there, we should. Go ahead.
Just a comment too about, just to relate back to Daniel Haller's. I think you could, when you look at that Whateley house, you see somebody who was very active in set design. I think with all the stuff that's in that house, all the little knickknacks and things from different places, and the altar.
The altar was great. That was a great set. I thought so anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the writers is Curtis Hanson, who is also a very prolific director.
Mm-hmm.
L.A. Confidential.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he won an Oscar for the screenplay for that.
Yeah, Wonder Boys, 8 Mile.
Wow.
Yeah, so he definitely went on to do huge things.
Hey, Doc.
Yeah.
I've got some good news and bad news. The good news is there is a book called Reynold Brown, A Life in Pictures. It is like 224 pages. It looks absolutely scrumptious. And the bad news is it'll cost you about $137.
Yikes.
Might be worth it. It might be worth it. There might be a digital copy out there.
Maybe.
But those are insane credits for the writer. The other writer, a guy named Henry Rosenbaum, didn't do as much. Wrote a movie called Hanky Panky, Get Crazy. A Bullet for a Pretty Boy. What is he writing?
I don't know.
We'll go on. And then we have Ronald Silkosky, right? What did he do?
Even less.
Even less. Yeah, he did this in Assault in Paradise 7 years later. Although he did edit Wild Racers, which Daniel Haller also directed alongside Roger Corman. Do we want to start talking about the cast? Should we just talk?
We should mention Samuel Arkoff, the producer.
Yeah, we should.
One of the producer. Since we just covered I Was a Teenage Werewolf on Classic Era. He's produced a lot of stuff that we've done on Classic Era. Blackula we've done on 70s.
Mm-hmm.
The Thing with Two Heads we haven't done yet, but that's a pretty notable movie. His his most financially successful film was the Amityville Horror. But you always see his name on just about a lot of things, and so I thought he was worth mentioning here too.
Definitely, yeah. It was produced with him along with Corman and James Nicholson.
Yeah,
he was born in Iowa.
Was he?
Just saying.
Oh, that's the problem.
Down the street from
Fort Dodge. Yeah, about an hour from here. Fort Dodge.
He passed away in 2001.
The music's by Les Baxter. That sounds like a familiar name. Why is that?
Oh, Les Baxter is sort of as I recall, kind of a jazz musician. Did a lot of stuff. Did massive amounts of the AIP films.
Yes.
Sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap because there were times when they replaced the original music soundtrack with a Les Baxter one, and people wanted the old stuff back. But he's did some great stuff.
Which he did that on Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
Did the U.S. version.
Right.
He did a lot of like that. He did like the Raven. He did X, the Man with the X-ray eyes. He did two of Bill Mulligan's favorites, Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs.
Oh my God.
Dr.
Oh.
Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine.
Hey.
Ghost and Invisible.
Yeah, I think
Bikini.
Daniel Heller was on all those too. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, because here's the other tragedy of those wretched
There
films.
is a tragedy.
Mario Bava, who I remind everyone at least once an episode is my favorite director, was going to do this movie. He was going to make the Dunwich Horror. And when Dr. Goldfoot bombed horribly,
Yes.
instead of them doing the logical thing and saying, well, we gave a comedy, in an English comedy, to a guy who doesn't speak any English, what are the odds that this is going to work? They just said, I guess he was never as good as we thought he was, so we're not going to give him the horror movie that he would have been brilliant at and probably would have, just been fantastic.
Didn't he do Monkey with the Bloody Razor?
No, that was Argento.
Monkey with the Bloody Razor Blade?
Monkey.
Wasn't that the name of a movie?
No, but it could have been.
Oh, I thought since we were mentioning Bill's favorite movies.
Oh, well, how about we give Chad a hand here? And,
the monkey, monkey with the bloody razor blade.
Did you see what the name of the movie was going to be called when he was going to direct it, Bill?
Something stupid.
Scarlet Friday.
Friday.
And they wanted to have Karloff in it and Christopher Lee. Can you imagine?
Lee? Okay. I'll go see Scarlet Friday.
That makes sense. I mean, Die Monster Dies. So
because Karloff would have played Dr. Armitage, right? And Christopher Lee would have been Wilbur. He would have been a totally different Wilbur.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine him as Wilbur?
No, I actually can't.
Or he could have been the doctor.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, he would have made a good doctor.
Or
maybe Karloff would have been Wilbur's dad.
Come on, he beat Armitage. Wouldn't he be Armitage?
Yeah, it could have been. Les Baxter started out as the pianist for Mel Torme's Meltones.
Nice.
The penis.
And then went on to conduct a number of radio shows, including Bob Hope.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Anything else, John? You just kind of dropped off suddenly. Oh yeah, but he
I'm done.
There's so many. I mean, I could list off all the credits he did music on, but we'd be here for an hour just listing them all.
Yeah, right.
What he did. All right, we weren't prepared for that, were we? All right, so let's move on to the cast. I guess we should do Let's do Sandra D first, that way.
Oh, ain't she cute?
Now, she is showing some leg there. Now
she is.
This is arguably, and it wouldn't be a hard argument, a departure for her, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Well, except for that movie Tammy and the Unspeakable Horrors from Beyond. Yeah, this was.
What are you talking about?
A little bit different.
Tammy and the Cosmic Horror.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sammy and Bonzo with the Bloody Razor.
Oh, stop. I mean, she did do an episode of Sixth Sense and 3 episodes of Night Gallery.
Oh,
so she did.
I think she really did try to get away from that.
Yeah.
She did toy around with
that
it.
Image.
It didn't catch. It didn't stick.
Well, I mean, playing the young 19, 20-year-old virgin made her fortune, but that is one of those things you can't do for very long. There's a definite time.
Right. I think it was more of a Hollywood said, what are we going to do with this teen star that is now a divorcee from another teen star?
Let's put her in a movie with Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Yeah.
One ringy dingy. Thing 1.
So, do you guys know anything about? Is that Cthulhu? No.
Let's go.
Yes.
Hey,
Chief, what's up?
Sixth Sense. Well, I don't understand because there's a show here. It's like they entered it separately.
Huh?
Called The Sixth Sense.
Yes, it's a TV series.
Yeah, I had never heard of it before, but it seems like I should have.
Yeah. It was a short-lived one, right?
25 episodes.
For some reason I remember it. I think we watched it because, but it was on at 10 o'clock. I don't know. Anyway, those Night Gallery, Twilight Zone shows, they they would pop up quite often in the early 70s, wouldn't they? They tried a bunch of different
in
ones.
it as an episode of this. It sounds like it was sort of like that. He was anyway. Dr. Michael Rhodes is a college professor with an interest in the paranormal. So I think that's what, the credits for Sandra Dee for Night Gallery, one of them says she played, does it say Alice Martin? And that's the character she played in this episode of Sixth Sense. So makes me wonder if they didn't double it up somehow.
It's possible.
So here's another weird connection, Doc.
It kind of says it did, because an episode is Sixth Sense : Through the Flame Darkly, and then Sixth Sense TV show has through the Flame Dark. Yeah, I wonder if they
right
used old. Oh well, that's the cheap bastards. Go ahead.
It's hard to say which was which, but one of the things I saw was Daniel Haller directed an episode of Night Gallery that I can see where it was. I'll Never Leave You Alone Ever starred Royal Dano, Lois Nettleton, and John Saxon.
Some favorites.
Okay.
Right.
John Saxon also made 3 movies with Sandra Dee in the late 50s, early 60s. So John Saxon, he's everywhere. He's friggin' everywhere.
He should be. He should be. He's awesome. Would it be safe to say that most people today, youngins, if you will, know Sandra Dee as a topic of a song from Grease, and that's it?
Yes, that is 100% it. That's it.
Because it's all, look at me, I'm Sandra Dee.
I don't know. She apparently didn't have she had troubles, I guess, in her life. Suffered from anorexia, alcohol abuse, and drug addiction.
SA by her stepfather. Sexual abuse.
Oh no.
Where was it?
No.
I didn't know.
I mean, she's known for, like Gidget and stuff like that, but
Right.
but it's known exactly for what that song does in Grease is exactly what she's known for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. I don't have a picture of
her. I got it, Bill. Her last movie called Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who directed that?
No.
Adamson.
Oh God. Really? She fell that far? Whoosh. Al Adamson.
Alan. Yeah.
Al Adamson.
That's not a good sign.
But it could be awesome though. in a schlock kind of way. It could be awesome. All right. I don't see a picture of Dean Stockwell in my list. If there's one
There should have been.
There is. For some reason, when I upload him, he's not seeing all of them.
I only see a fraction of them.
That mustache of his had me intrigued.
And his little,
The way it curled around on the edges.
Yeah.
Strange.
And that little fro. It's not the kind of Dean Stockwell I think you think of, although it looks like when he was younger, that's what he sported for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think most of us remember him from a certain TV show. Who wants to spit it out?
Quantum Leap.
Yes.
Here he's rocking the Mike Brady white guy fro.
He is.
Well.
He could double for Mike Brady if he wanted to. That's funny. Oh my God.
But there's a couple of my favorite bits. I loved him in Blue Velvet. He was just a total revelation. That character was that's the scene where I just totally fell in love with that weird ass little movie. And he was in David Lynch's Dune, which I liked.
Two David Lynch movies. Right?
Yeah. He was great in Dune. Dune's an odd movie, and
Well, I knew him.
David Lynch is odd.
Yeah.
He was a child actor, and he was in one of my, don't want to call it favorite, I'll say interesting, The Boy with Green Hair.
The Boy.
You guys ever seen that? It's a nice little parable about discrimination.
1948. Wow.
He was a cutie. And just for Daphne, this is a plug for Daphne. She's big fans of these. He was in Thin Man movie as a kid.
Was he Nick and Nora's kid?
He was Nick Charles Jr. in Song of the Thin Man.
Man, I love those movies. Those movies were made like in the 1930s, and they still seem witty and adult, grown up now. I mean,
it's that old fast-paced dialogue with the
fast-paced, and also, man, you got to love those movies. People had a cigarette in one hand and a martini in the other. They drank like fish and smoked like chimneys. They totally would not get away with that now.
He was also in 2 episodes of Columbo, which is another Daphne favorite. Those are the 2 things I know she really loves in the old stuff. So
going back to Sandra D, she said the same thing. She said she was never she smoked. She said, I like to smoke. And whenever she had a drink, they said they would either cover her drink up with a napkin or put her arm down or take the cigarette out of her hand because she was not supposed to smoke. Because of her image and everything like that. And I was like, wow, today that is the very least of any Hollywood star's problem.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
But she always, from what I was reading, she resented that whole image and that whole.
I would imagine, especially as she got older. Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah. Typecast. She was typecast as that much.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't mention a horror film from 1973 called Werewolf of Washington, we'll be doing bad movies a disservice.
Dean was in that one.
Yeah, we got to cover that at some point.
Oh, do we?
Well,
it's so terrible. It's better than Werewolves on Wheels. I'll give you that because it's got more actual werewolves. So
yeah, it's just laws of attrition. It's going to end up
at some point. At some point, we're going to be, what's at the bottom of this barrel? And there it will be.
And we'll all be 85 years old.
It might be that one. It might wait that long.
Scraping the bottom of that.
We might wait that long. We might not.
We waited a long
time. Oh, no. Can we just do Frankenstein Island again?
Have you guys ever seen, any of you ever seen a movie called Human Highway?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of it before, but it stars Neil Young, Russ Tamblyn, and Dean Stockwell.
Wow.
When you say Neil Young,
magician.
Was co-directed
musician?
by Dean Stockwell and Neil Young.
Neil Young, the magician?
Yeah.
Neil Young, the music. That Neil Young.
Yeah.
He was writer, he was co-writer, co-director on this movie called Human Highway, where they bought a roadside diner stuck in a town built around a leaking nuclear power plant.
Oh man. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Ed Begley. You got a picture of Ed Begley as well?
We do.
I have one with the 2 of them together.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, I see what you said. You had one with both of them together. I see it now. I have that one. I think so the only way I know Ed Begley is because he's
Ed Begley Jr.'s dad. Which is sad.
It is sad. But of course, he has done quite a bit of things. He died the year this was released.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily his last work, but it's in the 4 or 5 things he did leading up to 1970. So,
and he was good in this. He was a credible foil. Probably shouldn't have the Necronomicon laying out there where anyone could read it. And
yeah, he was a little loosey-goosey with it, wasn't he?
Yeah. Hands it to Sandra D. Here, you take this back and lock it up for me.
As I was watching this, I felt like Sam Raimi must have watched this movie 100 times.
I was going to say Ash Williams would be very upset.
not just because of the Necronomicon, but a lot of the camera movements through the woods as the Force was going through the woods and stuff like that. It reminded me a lot of Evil Dead.
I wanted to talk about the one scene too, because I just thought it's just something that caught my eye, and I thought it was a really nice scene where she's driving and he's riding, and they're stopped to get gas, and it's night, and the camera comes down to his side of the car. It goes through the car, and he's kind of turning his head away so the guy doesn't recognize him. Although
very subtly. I loved how subtle that was.
I know. Yeah. And then the guy says, "Okay, fill it up." So he leaves to fill it up, and she then turns to Wilbur, and she kind of goes, I don't know. It just seemed really genuine, and the camera positioning was perfect for picking up all those. It's weird. It's like away from it, but yet it caught everybody's faces through the car. I don't know.
It was really well done. It really was well done. And then when he comes back to the other side and the looks that they give each other spoke volumes. And that's what I loved about this movie, Bill. What really caught me were those little subtle moments throughout, because we're building up. This is part of the slow build. And it is a slow build, but I loved how we were introduced to all these little things along the way. For me, it was totally captivating.
Yeah.
But I vaguely, I do want to say he is a star in one of my favorite non-horror films. I don't have
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men, yes.
He's great in
juror number 10. And yes, I do. I love that film. I can watch that film anytime it comes on. It doesn't matter. I just love that film.
It's a lesson in great acting. Yeah, it's a great.
Oh my
he
God,
was also it is. He was also in Hang 'em High. One of the, I think it might have been the Clint Eastwood's first non-Italian Western.
Is that not considered I guess it's not considered a spaghetti Western? Bless you.
Bless you.
Well, I don't think it is.
Okay. It's the man with no name still, right? So.
Yeah, he brings his A game to this too. It's not like he's I'm slumming it here, a little cheap horror movie for AIP. He's not hamming it up or winking at us. He's legit.
Yes.
Well, I think he won an Oscar, and I forget what it was for. I want to say Sweet Bird of Youth, which was a Tennessee Williams movie from a Tennessee Williams play that starred Paul Newman and I shouldn't have said anything. I forget the woman's name.
Let's move on to Sam Jaffe. We're actually running out of time, Jeff. Like you said, he's done stuff all over the place. I think as horror and sci-fi fans, we probably recognize him from Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Playing the exact opposite of the character he's playing here.
Exactly. Gosh, he was in like a whole bunch of episodes of Ben Casey. He must have been a regular.
Yeah.
Again, like most everybody, he did episodes of Night Gallery and whatnot. Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's also
television everywhere.
Yeah.
He's also in Columbo.
Yeah, he's on the stars.
And who did I skip? Dean Stockwell. Did Dean Stockwell do a bunch of voices on the Batman animated series?
Yes, he did.
I knew there was a Batman connection here somewhere. My favorite Sam Jaffe is Asphalt Jungle, which is a great film noir from 1950, where he's like the mastermind genius that does this intricate planning of a great bank heist. I forget who else is in that. Sterling Hayden and anyway, I can picture.
What's great about Al Jaffe is
Sam
Jaffe. Al Jaffe.
Brother Sam.
Who's Al Jaffe? Al Jaffe's an artist, right?
He's the guy from Mad Magazine.
Yeah. All right, Sam Jaffe is that. He looks the same.
He does.
In 1951 as he does in 1971.
He does.
He doesn't look any different.
He looks the same in 1950 as he does in this movie. 20 years later.
Oh my God! It just has this classic old man grumpy.
He's got that Abe Vigoda thing that he hit a certain age and he just stayed at.
Stay there. Oh my God! Abe Vigoda absolutely did that. Oh my gosh!
Unfortunately,
I guess we should mention Talia Shire. Talia Shire plays. Of course, she was Talia Coppola, excuse me, plays the nurse, and she's really good.
She's good in this. Yeah,
she is good.
Which is not a surprise. But of course, what are some of the best Talia Shire horror movies?
Prophecy.
Is it going to be Prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Prophecy.
100%.
Oh my god.
Best sleeping bag kill.
Oh
ever.
my god. That
closely followed by Jason X, but yes, I still think
yep.
it's got to get the winner.
It predates it by quite a bit. Yeah. Of course, most people, Rocky, right? And if not that, it's going to be
Rocky 2.
Rocky 2 or Godfather. The Godfather saga,
Godfather,
right?
Yeah. I got to make a quick comment about Lloyd Wagner too. He plays the doctor, sort of Armitage sidekick. He was in the Twilight Zone episode "To Serve Man."
Yes, he was. He was the man who got served,
and
he was in Dynasty.
Yeah, he also did some voices on the Batman animated series. And I'm trying to scroll down because I can't remember. I thought he was in. Nope, I thought he was in classic sci-fi. But
you got to say the Batman, the DC animated TV shows and everything had a hell of a good voice cast. They didn't just stunt cast with famous people. They had people that probably most people wouldn't recognize the names, but they were good. And good show. One of the reasons why it's lasted.
Andrea, I can't remember her last name, was the voice director on those. Did a great job on all the Batman shows, the Justice League shows. It was always the right actor for the character too.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Lloyd Wagner now, or have we talked about him?
We're done.
Okay.
I think, unless you got something else to say. I'm sure he was in other movies. That's just something that I recognize him from.
Yeah. He's definitely a character actor you'd recognize, and he has an offspring that's in stuff too as well, right?
Yeah, Hart Bachner was in Die Hard.
There you go. But man, he like you said, he was all over the place. All right, so in the interest of time, we need to wrap up, and so we can get to our feedback. So let's give some closing thoughts and recommend this to our listeners in a certain fashion, whatever way you would like to recommend this or not. Bill Mulligan, Chad, you're up first.
This was a surprise for me. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought it would, based on things I'd heard about it. And as far as Lovecraft adaptations go, this is not the worst one. It was a pretty good adaptation of Lovecraft, I thought. So I recommend watching it.
Excellent. Bill Mulligan, sir.
It just didn't appeal to me. It does have some good elements. Again, maybe if I were less tired right now, I think I could probably go see the latest Fast and Furious movie and doze off in the middle. It's just, and I got to take that into account. It's got some cool bits to it, and I'm glad we did it, because I did need to see it, but I don't see myself watching it again anytime soon. Although, when Jeff says he didn't like it the first time and liked it more the second time, there have been a few movies that we've done where that has been the case. It's one of the things that I like about doing a podcast. So I'll give it another shot.
Yeah, occasionally you can rediscover a classic that you
That's right.
did not discover properly the first time. Or is not properly. Probably not the right word I meant to say, but you get what I'm saying. Jeff.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot, because I'm, prone to condemnation prior to investigation. Anyway, I like this. I like it quite a bit. And I think you have to watch this, you have to be ready to really focus in on all the details. If you're just going to spectate the movie and expect it to grab you, that may not happen, I guess. And I'm not saying that's what Bill did. I'm just saying, I think that's the way it was the first time I watched it, and the second time I watched it. And I'm just going to throw it out there. The Arrow Blu-ray is great, and I think that's probably the version you guys are seeing too. It came out like a year ago, so replaced some cut scenes and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch, and I'll wait to hear what the Grue believers think, because I know this is poo-pooed on quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand. I mean, I guess I get it. If you're it's kind of like, when a Stephen King story gets adapted, poorly.
Mhm.
If you relate it too closely to the source material, you really recognize the misses. But I separated myself from the source material. Wasn't really familiar with it. So as a story, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed this quite a bit, and I would recommend it. I would love to have seen it with some of the original double bills, Bill. Check this out, Bill.
Oh yeah.
In London, it double billed with the Oblong Box. Wouldn't that be fun?
Wow.
In New York, it double billed with Scream and Scream Again.
Wow. And they one of the DVDs that got released of this, it's on a double bill with Gordon Hessler's Murders in the Rue Morgue. So there's your Poe, Lovecraft movies that are really not remotely like the source material double feature.
All right. So yeah, I say check it out. Get invested. Give it a time, because I think if I would have watched this when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have given it the opportunity to build, and just kind of gotten bored and poo-pooed it away pretty quickly. But it hit me in the perfect time and in a perfect spot when I watched it. So I really enjoyed it. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
We have some feedback, sir.
We do, but like an idiot,
can't find it though.
I didn't copy it over. Let me pull it up from my.
Well, while he's doing
source.
that, I'm going to suggest that if you have comments about the Dunwich Horror, please let us know what you think of it in the comments down below, or send us some feedback at from the website, or through our Patreon, or however you wish. We'd love to hear what you think of this film, and if you've seen the remake, that too.
Yeah, I'll get you started. Bill was right, and then just put that into ChatGPT.
Bill was right.
Spit out the rest.
All right.
Stop.
So I'm just going to read these. They're very short, but they're nice. And one of them is from, I think, a new subscriber. And this goes back 133, episode 133, Shock.
Oh, wow. Oh,
AKA Doc. What was it?
Beyond the Door.
Beyond the Door 2, right? Yeah. Beyond the Door 2.
Pulse. All caps. Daria Nicolodi was in her prime here.
Yes, she was.
And then he says, what a great channel made up of professionals you have here. Smiley face.
Wow.
Talking about us?
He thinks Doc's paying us. Yeah.
Yeah, professionals. He's talking about the cat.
Dollar goes a long way.
Well, that was very nice, Pulse. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, as
And
far
you
as
have
we
good
know, the
taste-
cat
you have-
knows everything.
You got
We
great
know
taste in women there, Pulse. So
The other one is 184 from Love at First Bite. And this is from Lone Wolf, who, not in this one, but in one for the 80s, apologizes for being AWOL for a while.
hey, life goes on.
Yeah,
Love at
welcome
First
back,
Bite, episode 184. Would you prefer this movie or Blood for Dracula?
Yes, I would prefer either. Actually, I'm after we did which Blood for Dracula, not Blood of Dracula.
I think I laughed more at Blood of Dracula.
I think I did
Dracula,
too,
so.
because it was so stupid and silly.
Was,
I don't know. What a
It
great
depends.
double.
Am I watching this? Am I watching this with my grandkids? Blood for Dracula. No, obviously not.
It'd be a fun.
Well,
double
you
feature.
gotta love
Fun
Susan
double
St.
feature.
James, but otherwise, I'd
Yeah.
probably. Oh, and there's a couple of good. There's some good character actors in that one. The answer is decidedly wishy-washy.
Maybe.
Is death an option?
Yeah.
That's an option. Stop.
Well, Lone Wolf. What about you, Lone Wolf? Which one would you rather?
Yeah.
Don't leave us hanging.
All right. Well, we need to wrap this up because we got a lot more podcasts to do tonight. Is there
Next
any
episode,
more?
I forgot to fill it out.
Oh, yeah, next episode.
It's a
Next
special
episode, should we announce the?
special
Yeah.
surprise.
As
Yeah.
far as we know, we have due to a friend contact, we were connected with John D. Hancock, who directed Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Those have fun.
Now, even though Doc and the Black Saint and I did this on episode 45 over 6 years ago, we thought this was well worth a kind of a
6 years
double
ago.
tap.
6 years, an
to
eternity.
talk with the director.
Yeah. Well, we're not
so
gonna
this is-
review the movie. We're just gonna go straight into an interview, right? So,
Yeah. Well, you know, whatever. Yeah. That, we won't do it like we normally do it.
Sure.
Because I'm sure he doesn't want to hear our first impressions.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I already told him we loved it because we did on that episode. I don't know about Bill and Chad, but at any rate, and he also directed like Bang the Drum Slowly. So, you know, he's had some.
Cool.
It's hard not to love a film when you're talking to the creator of the film,
Yeah,
you know,
I can't
because
wait
then you're seeing it through different eyes and
Wait till they get a load of me. No, I'm just kidding.
So let's scare Jessica to death with special guest John D.
John
Carpenter,
Hancock.
the director.
yeah.
and then back to our regularly scheduled program after that, right?
Didn't you say
Yeah.
John Hancock earlier?
It's John D. Hancock.
John
I put
D.
the initial in
Hancock.
because otherwise it sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
John D. All right. Well, we need to bolt out of here.
Mosey.
So thank you, Chad. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jeff. What was that?
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
I was,
He could have had a VA.
Could that be a? Oh my God, did that come out of the depths? All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Let's say goodnight.
yes.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Boop.
Everybody do it.
Good night.
All right.